1807 scenario, the Peninsula Campaign. The player starts with 6 good veteran units on the map, and the enemies have a larger number of units, but those units are of much lower quality. As you can see, there are no fortifications or garrisons on the map, and also there are no objectives. In order to win the game, the player must survive until the end of the game as defined by the turn track. If there ever are 0 French forces on the map, then the player loses the game. Otherwise, if the player survives until the end, the player will count victory points and will earn 5 victory points for each city under French control, and will lose a victory point for each French unit that had been destroyed during the game. Special rules, well, the most important one is that the player cannot repurchase units that have been destroyed. So losing some of these units can be tragic. You really need to refit units, and sometimes you will have to retreat just to be able to save your units from irreversible doom. But what really gives this game, this scenario, its flavor is the system, the special system you have for the enemy resupply. During the enemy resupply phase, you will roll a die, and you will modify the result based on the number of Spanish forces on the map. The more there are, the better it is for the Spanish opponents, and the number of French units that were destroyed. Just one more reason why you should not have your units destroyed, because the higher this bonus, the better things will be for the AI. You look at the modified result, and that will tell you the number of supply points that the enemies receive, but more importantly, what is the type of area in which you will have uprisings. Each area on the map has 1 or 2 small numbers indicating again the uprisings. Suppose that the modified result was a 16 or more, then there will be uprisings in each area with a 4 on the map. For each such area indicated by the uprisings, the player must either add an enemy reinforcement in that area, or lose 2 supply points, or inflict 1 hit on one of his forces on the map. And depending on the circumstances, one of these may be better than the other. So I like the fact that this scenario really has a very different pace and very different feel from the previous ones. In the previous ones, very often you had the sense of where you had to go and the directions in which you should be moving. Here, things are going to happen unpredictably all over the place. You're going to have enemies popping up everywhere on the map, and you will have to move your units running around and trying to eliminate them when those enemy units are still isolated, because when they're by themselves, they're not too dangerous, but even these weak units become threatening when they form larger groups. So you really have to run around a lot. It is a scenario with a lot of mobility. There's a second phase of the game in which the Spanish enemies will receive some reinforcements, but you will have a lot of French reinforcements inside the game. And finally, Napoleon lui-même will enter the fight. The French forces will enter from here. At the point, they will probably start spreading around and trying to take control of as many cities as possible to improve the final score, and to protect the survivors that will have been fighting and running around the map for so long. A very interesting scenario, very different feel. If it has a minus, is in the fact that instead of having a medium battle here and there, an epic battle occasionally like you have in earlier scenarios, here you have many small engagements each turn. In each turn you may have 4 or 5 small battles with 1 unit per side, and you want that to happen because you need to send your units, hunting the enemies when they're still isolated. But the point is that when in a turn you have 4 or 5 of these battles, they are not that exciting and they become a little repetitive. However, generally speaking, a scenario that I enjoyed for its originality, and if you're playing the entire campaign one scenario after the other, this definitely is a nice change of pace.